I used to tell my kids, used to be if their phone rang, you had to answer it. I didn't matter if Satan was calling, you had to answer it. It's the same with the door knocks. Now it's like, somebody's knocking on the door. Let's pretend we're not here. So, and so it's not easy doing that delivery. But anyway, let's talk about these 5 problems. So the first one, and I'll let you explain, but I'll set it up here. Driver misclassification. What does that mean, and why is it a failure?
Yeah, this is probably the one item that anyone in the final mile space, if you're not paying attention to it, you should, because this is the biggest risk you have in this industry, is making sure your driver model is set up properly, and depending on which model you go with, that you are operating by the letter of the law. So what I mean by that specifically is most people in the final mile space use independent contractors, individuals who are designated by the IRS as 1099s, who essentially are not employees of the business, right? They're their own, owner operators essentially. Some companies also use, W-2 models and true employees, and some use a hybrid of both, right? Depending on the scope and operation. One of the things you see often that happens in this space is, and we'll get into hopefully insurance later, but if a company is misclassifying their drivers, meaning that they have an individual is classified as an independent contractor, but they're operating and managing and treating that individual as if they are an employee, you're opening yourself up for a lot of risk. And those could be, first is, let's say you get an accident, so that driver gets in an accident, and he or she, when they go to file a claim, they realize they don't have workers' comp because they're not an employee. And so they're going to be pretty disgruntled, and they'll go call a buddy there that's a lawyer. And then that lawyer is probably going to ask them, if it's a good lawyer, she's a good lawyer, how many more people are like you out there? And they'll figure out how many drivers. And all of a sudden you have a big class action lawsuit saying that you're misclassified 100, 1,000 drivers, how many on your fleet, as ICs when they should be employees because of one little incident. And that one incident can open yourself up to more problems, because if that happens, that goes through, now the Department of Labor is looking at you. They want you to pay back fees that you haven't paid because you have employees and not ICs. And then you got the IRS.
Yeah, when you say ICs, you mean independent contractors.
100%. So it's a big administrative issue that can lead to operations, certainly. And I think there's a right way of doing it. There's a wrong way of doing it. I think you have to educate yourself and understand how to properly do it. And there's some gray area there, but for the most part, you can pretty much focus in and operate in a correct manner.
Driver misclassification sounds kind of benign, but it could put you out of business in a heartbeat. And I think one of the things that, and let's forget the human toll for just a second, but if I was working for you and you said, Joe's an IC, and I don't do any other work, and you're being very specific, hey, Joe, this is what I need you to do Monday, this is what I need you to do Tuesday. And at some point I slip and fall and I hurt my back, and I don't have the right insurance. Well, my lawyer is going to say, we're going to go after the owner of this business. We're going after Jason. He's got deep pockets. Let's go after Jason. And he's going to pay your workman's comp one way or another. And it's easy to start a business and say everybody's an independent contractor. Lots of people do it that way. It's just the government has a list of questions they ask. And if you don't fit under an independent contractor, it doesn't matter what your contract says.
Yeah, it doesn't. And depending on what state you're in too, it could, these laws.
California won't even let you have an independent contractor.
Yeah,